Namo Amida Butsu. I sincerely take refuge in Amida and his 18th vow, the primal vow. The vow that if we entrust ourselves to Amida and say his name and wish to be reborn in his pure land, then we will be reborn in his pure land of ultimate bliss and peace. That being said, during these moments of lockdown, you start to get innately in touch with your human side, your non-Buddha nature, your delusional nature. Um, and there are moments, at least there have been moments for me when I've been kind of horrified by some of the crap that goes along in my head, the weird emotional reactions I get, the sense of anxiousness, the sense of impatience. Um, Sometimes stuck alone in quarantine, I rather, talking about me, I start reviewing events in my life. I start going through situations in my life where people had wronged me, or people had hurt me, or people had offended me. It if you allow it to, it can sometimes become the perfect breeding ground for hatred, resentment, um, reviewing old wounds, revisiting old resentments. Or it can be a time when, and there have been these moments as well, when I have had days of devoting myself to studying the Amida Dharma, to sitting before my shrine, which oddly enough, when I was working every day, I didn't seem to have that much time to do, which was a choice, which was a cop out. There's always some time, but we are prone to distractions. I certainly am. And there have been days during this lockdown that I've been prone to distractions. You have the best of intentions and you think you're going to go study the Dharma, and you say to yourself, yeah, this is going to be a day of prayer and reflection and connecting with the Amida. It's going to be beautiful. And sure enough, you get up, and then before you know it, you're cruising the internet and for crap, and just laying on your back, watching TV with the remote in your hand, going through old episodes of Green Acres and Gilligan's Island and whatever else, real crime stories on the Justice Network, court TV. And before you know it, the day's been spent. This is because we're human. This is because we live in a realm created by both positive and negative karma, an unenlightened realm created by unenlightened inhabitants, people who are not yet Buddhas, not yet at the non-regression bodhisattva stage in life. Now, for those of us who have entrusted to Amida, we are at the stage when we will not regress from our destination to the pure land, and it has nothing to do with us. We've given ourselves over to the primal vow and sincerely entrusted ourselves to the fact that Amida is capable and fully able to save us and bring us to his pure land. Excuse me. That being said, even though we have partaken of Amida's perfect karma, and his salvation to save us is his salvation to save us. It has nothing to do with our good works, our good merits, how many times or how little times we say Nimbutsu. But even though we're saved, we're stuck here in the time being. And it's interesting to look at my thoughts and my emotions now that I haven't been working for, a month now. It's strange, it's nebulous, it's scary, it's weird. And that also goes into the dream world. It also goes into the weird subterranean subconscious thought processes I go through. And I talked to Joshua about that the other day, and I said, it's odd, it's now that I adopt more and more, now that I see through the lens of the Dharmic worldview, as opposed to the popular secular worldview, I see things in a different light. And I come to find, through my own experience, that the Dharmic view of reality, that is to say, the dimensional view based on karma, rings more true than what we're taught to believe. I noticed when I was a Christian and I had or wanted to believe in Jesus and his heaven and my salvation through the cross, it was kind of like a switching back and forth. It was like, okay, yes, I believe in Jesus and he died for our sins and I'm going to go to heaven when I die, but yet I'm not sure. The secular view, evolution, everything else, it makes more sense. And then I would switch back and forth, and it was a very schizophrenic way of viewing and living my life at that time. Now that I have given myself over to looking through life through the lens of the Dharma teachings, that is to say, the teachings on the Buddha, the teachings of the Buddhist interpretation of life, the whens, the hows, the whys, it makes so much more sense to me. There are a lot of so-called Buddhists that would hear me say that and say, oh, well, you're a deluded fundamentalist, Dave, who believes in ridiculous mythologies based on superstition and fantasy. A lot of these Buddhists would say, well, you basically given yourself over to the superstition of folk Buddhism. But I find that what a lot of so-called Buddhists today refer to as folk Buddhism, it seems to ring much truer than the so-called secularized, stripped down, modernized, westernized view of, Buddhism without beliefs, as the popular book today would say. In other words, what people call Buddhism today is nothing more than, yoga class meditation. You sit down. But I find, and Josho did a wonderful article recently where he talks about just sitting in the presence of Amida. And I've talked about that. I've talked about there are times when my head is so filled with crap because I'm a delusional individual from a very broken, screwed up past. And like I said, sometimes when these resentments and thoughts have clogged my mind and my emotions like a stopped up toilet filled with shit, excuse my language, I feel hypocritical sometimes. I'm just being honest with you, saying Nembutsu and trying to. I feel unable at times to sit down, listen to a tract of Nembutsu, and study the Dharma. And so it's sometimes in those times, I'll either lay on my bed, play a YouTube video, and just let it play, a Nembutsu video. Or I will sit before this shrine here, my altar, and just sit. And you see a little bamboo tea tray right down there, which I plan to do today. Now, whether I do it or not, that remains to be seen, because, you know, the best laid plans of mice and men, and I am definitely a mice. I'm definitely a man who's a mouse. You know, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and I've paved a lot of road in my life through my well-meaning efforts, which amount to nothing, because, you know, Mappo, Saha, you know. But it's like sometimes when I realize this is the case, I will sit and just sit. And sometimes I will sit there and the shit swirling around in my head and in my gut, and there'll be times my heart will be palpitating and I'm just like, I hate people. I'm just being honest with you guys. You know, people suck. My government sucks. And incompetence. I wish I was in the Pure Land. What the fuck's going on? And that's okay, even if it's not okay. Because I'm not a good Buddhist. I'm not a good person. I'm not necessarily, you know, I may be a polite person. I may be a person who is very good at faking sincerity many times. But when it comes to my faith, you know, my name, Joshin, you know, Shaku Joshin. You know, I am a follower of Shakyamuni, Shaku, and I am a man of pure faith. My faith is pure. And part of that is the realization that I'm a messed up individual. There's a lot wrong with my head and my emotions, my past, my interpretation of life and my interaction with life here in the Saha realm. But there's nothing wrong with my Shinjin. There's nothing wrong with that sincere entrusting to Amida, that knowing I have, that I will always have, that I have no doubt I will always have. This isn't even up for speculation. It's a given. Up until the day I die, I am the property of Amida Buddha. I am a child of Amida Buddha. I am a worshiping, adoring servant of Amida Buddha, of his Dharma, of his Sangha. You guys, we're connected. through his golden chain of love and grace. In the midst of the fact that we live in the Saha realm and we are screwed up, messed up, effed up people, that's why we have Amida. That's why we need to study Amida's Dharma, the teachings of Amida. That's why we need each other, the Amida Sangha, those fellow members of the Amida Dharma, the group of those who worship Amida, who follow or seek to follow the primal vow. And I realize a lot of us, we have become people of Shinjin. We have become people of simple faith. And a lot of the viewers, some of the viewers, not all of the viewers, but I mean, there are a lot of people out there who haven't gotten there yet, who would like to get here, to have that knowing that they are saved, to have that knowing that Amida is real, that his Pure Land is real, but due to the delusion of relying on self-merit, the fear that they will never get to the point where they know Amida is real and his Pure Land is real, they're not there yet. That's okay. Whoever you are, wherever you are in your spiritual journey, if you're watching this video, that means Amida is calling to your heart. Amida is placing in your heart a desire for a simple faith relationship with him, the real Buddha of infinite light and life, the real creator of the actual Pure Land of ultimate bliss and peace. You're not making that happen. Because I remember eons ago when I became curious about Amida. Now, up until that time, as a Zen Buddhist, I had no desire to. I didn't even consider pure. I briefly heard articles on Pure Land Buddhism and read articles of Pure Land Buddhism in Buddhist magazines like Tricycle and Buddha Dharma. And it was like, God, that doesn't even sound like real Buddhism. It sounds like Christianity. What the hell is this? You follow this guy named Amida and you wish to be reborn in his Pure Land. What the hell does that have to do with Buddhism? Because at the time, Buddhism for me was all about reaching states of consciousness through silent meditation. And I could be forgiven for believing that way, because certainly here in America, when you say Buddhism, you think of sitting in a lotus position and clearing your mind of all thoughts, including thoughts of the Buddha. Of course, as a lot of American Buddhists like to quote the Zen koan, if you see the Buddha on the road, kill him. Which I always thought was kind of a violent thing to say. Not very nice. But in other words, to free yourself of all thought. Well, see, the thing is, the problem I had with that was that as you try to use koans, however you pronounce it, and little mind tricks to free your mind, there's always the logical question in the back of your mind: how, as an unenlightened being, am I going to use my unenlightened mind to free myself of my unenlightened mind to find the Buddha mind that extinguishes the flame of the candle, that will give me that aha moment when I'm just suddenly free and I'm totally aware of my Buddha nature. Answer I came to was, I can't. It's ridiculous. How in the hell would you do that? Isn't that just egoism? Isn't that just my egotistical way of self-deception, deluding myself into thinking that I, as an unenlightened being, have the wherewithal to know how to become enlightened by tricking my mind, using my mind that's unenlightened? You know, it's a rat in a maze, and the maze is sealed at the end, so the rat can't get out of the maze. Amitabha Buddha is not trapped in my rat maze. Amitabha Buddha is not held to the standards of my unenlightened, deluded mind. Amitabha Buddha has achieved what I can't achieve in this lifetime. Enlightenment. Amitabha Buddha has successfully extinguished the flame of delusionment. He has attained enlightenment and gone farther than that to create a Dharma land based on enlightenment, a nirvanic environment, unlike the Saha realm we live in, which is a delusional environment based on our trapped thoughts. You know, getting back to the Dharmic view of the universe. Occasionally, one of the things I'll do when I'm not studying the Dharma is I'll flip around the channels on YouTube and I'll come across ghost hunter videos, or videos about ghosts, here in the United States and abroad. And I don't, of course I realize a lot of these ghost videos are faked. I mean, you see the guys jumping out from behind the tree or the side of the building, and someone goes, "Oh, look, it's a shadow person." Yeah, it's not a shadow person. It's some friend or family member you got to put on a black sheet. But I told you I had at least one encounter during my lifetime when I was much younger at the San Jacinto Cemetery in Texas. And I talked about, I had what people would call a poltergeist encounter. I heard footsteps behind me. I turned around to confront the owner of the property to say, "Look, man, I didn't mean to trespass. I just curious, and I shouldn't, and there was no one there. There were footsteps behind me. I did not imagine it. It was not the wind. It was not some rabbit or something else. It was human footsteps behind me, speeding up, not walking in sync with my own footsteps heard in the dry grass and the underbrush." And it freaked me out, and it brought me to the realization there are other realities that our society does not acknowledge. Anyway, when I check out some of these ghost hunter videos, they'll use EVPs. They'll use, you know, white noise, basically, for lack of a better explanation, to record the voices of disembodied spirits. And there are two major things you get in these videos. The spirits say, help me. And more often than not, the spirits will say, I'm stuck. And the impression you get for the more believable channels, you know, a lot of ghost hunter channels are just fake. You know, they're, you know, you can tell they're you know, they're there for clickbait. And but the more believable ones aren't clear, and you get the impression that you have various spirits caught in what Buddha Dharma refers to as the bardo, which is a weird word that means the in-between phases of life and the next life. The bardo is when you're trapped, or you're in a transitional realm from the Saha realm, or between Saha realm experiences, where you are being held back by shit in your head, shit you've gone through in your life, unresolved issues, to where you can't move forward. You know, where a lot of people say, go to the light. Well, as many of us in the Saha realm can tell you, if that's anything like getting rid of the stuff in our head, the emotional baggage we've had accumulated rather through our lifetime, the endless videotaped collections in our subconscious that keep popping up of abuses, wrongs, insults, doubts, fears, it's easier said than done. And I liken, in my own crude analogy, what I was trying to do during my Zen practice, through silent meditation, through reciting of koans, you know, the sound of one hand clapping, to what it must be like being a disembodied spirit stuck in one of those transitional bardo realms. You want to be free. You want to go forward. You try, but you're using your mind, your unenlightened mind, to set you free, and you can't. And I can't. And so a lot of times I just have to consciously recognize I have entrusted myself to Amitabha Buddha. I have faith in his primal vow that if I entrust myself to him and say his name and wish to be reborn in his pure land, I will be. It is a certainty. It is an inevitability. That being said, I've done just that. And as far as my ability to become enlightened is concerned, it begins and ends right there. And let me clarify something. That does not mean that I have to continually save myself by entrusting myself to Amida and saying his name. And, you know, knowing this, once you have received the one thought moment of Shinjin, you will know what I'm talking about. And those of you who have experienced this in your own way, whether it was through a profound revelation or a simple knowing, a quiet recognition of the fact, it doesn't matter how. We all come to that simple faith in our own way. You realize you found it. It's a done deal. And sometimes I have to just realize, okay, just because I'm going to the Pure Land in my next life, that does not fix me in this life as far as my unenlightened thoughts, my emotional doubts and fears and worries and resentments and strange eccentricities. You know, because I got a lot of baggage, and there's a lot of unresolved issues for me here in this realm that will be unresolved till I go to the Pure Land in my next life. And even though I know for a fact I am going to the Pure Land in my next life, that doesn't fix me here. Sad but true. And so I sit in the presence of Amida, or I lay on my bed in the presence of Amida. And sometimes, you know, I just am. What a lot of contemplative Christians and meditators refer to as just be. For me, it's not about just be. It's just be in the presence of Amida. And in that article of Josho on this subject, he talks about how sometimes all that is necessary is to sit in the presence of Amida and to stare at an image of Amida. And you don't need an image of Amida. You can look at a banner of the words Namo Amida Butsu. You know, Namo Adida Fat, Namo Amitofo. But you can do this technique. You don't have to be in front of an altar. You can do it anywhere, at any time. As I've shared with you on previous videos, sometimes I love to go to a local park or a place where I can see egrets and blue jays and trees. And I just sit looking at nature. Or I'll look up at the sky and imagine an image of a Amida Buddha imposed on the sky. And as Josho once said to me, this is not a mere, even though we're using our imagination to visualize this, and it is most assuredly a visualization to look in the sky and see Amida, it's not merely a visualization or a trick of my imagination, because the light of Amida Buddha, the presence of Amida Buddha, is everywhere. And just acknowledging that fact. That release, that just giving up of the seemingly endless worry, the burden, the doubts, the fears, the terrors that life can bring you. And made worse by the media and, you know, TV commercials, everything. You know, sometimes you feel like a bee trapped in acid and you're struggling to get away, and you feel everything around you just eating away at who you are as you struggle in pain, just wanting peace, just wanting inner peace. And obviously, by my description here, I've been there so many times. And as I commented to Josho when he posted that on VK, and for those of you who don't know, VK is a Russian version of Facebook. And the reason I'm on there is because, yeah, it's Russian, but it sucks so much less than Facebook. I can actually just be myself, post what I want, and not have to worry that much about trolls. Occasionally you get one. Not like it was on Facebook. But I digress. Once he posted that on VK, I pinned it. And I don't think there's anything else I pinned to my VK profile up until now. But that was so profound, that simple little message of just spending time just looking at a picture of Amida or a statue of Amida and not particularly doing anything or trying to accomplish anything, or forcing yourself to say Butsu, or forcing yourself to do anything, just being, allowing yourself to be in the presence of the Buddha as you are, even while your mind and emotions are swimming in the swill that is the sewage of the Saha realm. I commented, I have found no technique that works better than this during these times. Now, I always say Nimbutsu. I say it day and night. Very rarely do I not have a mala in my hand, a ninju, a set of prayer beads. But there are times when you're filled with doubt or fear or anger or resentment or a sense of injustice from things done to you. Perfect example is when you meet someone who looks down their nose at you because they're an elitist, or you encounter someone at a grocery store or somewhere who is so outrageously rude that you have to complain to the manager, and the manager doesn't seem like he gives a damn. These feelings of injustice, these feelings of resentment, these feelings of not being heard in the Saha realm, as you try to conduct your life as best you can, as Buddhist as you can in the Saha realm. Sometimes that can release other memories of such events, to where you get to the point to where you try to focus on the Nimbutsu, and it's just like you just kind of ask yourself, what the hell can I do? And these are moments that are referred to as clinging to the sleeves of Amida. It's like you're slipping around on some oil slick, trying to find some footing, some ground, so you can get back to having a spiritual mindset, or you're trying to divert your focus from the garbage in your head that clouds your vision from the sunshine of Amida's light, and you can't. It's in those times you cling to the sleeve of Amida by saying, I can't. And you just sit down somewhere, lie down somewhere, anywhere, in front of an altar, on your bed, in a chair in the living room, on a bench outside, and you just kind of say, okay, Amida, here I am. Once again, I'm overwhelmed. Life here in the Saha realm, in the age of Mappo, the Dharma ending age, has succeeded in beating me. And here I am. Inevitably, as I do that, Amida wins over the garbage that I've accumulated, my stupid, inept inability to divert my own focus from my own garbage, aka, let's be honest, my egocentric mind. Because in the end, it's all about me. Even my attempts in the past of trying to bring myself through meditation to enlightenment, it was about me becoming a Buddha. It was about me becoming a saint. And it is certainly good that we have that desire to become a Buddha. But we go about it the wrong way because we don't know the right way. It's that simple. Amida is the right way. He's been there, he's done that, he's overcome that. We are there, we are doing that, but we don't know how to overcome our unenlightened state. And so I entrust myself to the primal vow of Amida Buddha. I say his name in gratitude, and I know that I will be reborn in his life. And if you're not to the point where you can know this, that Amida, you have not been opened enough, or you don't know how to free yourself from the doubts and fears that tell you that Amida may not be real, his Pure Land may not be real. Just get in front of an image of Amida, or in front of any Buddha, honestly. Just sit and just admit this to Amida. Where you are in your faith walk, where you are in your faith walk, your faith journey, or your lack of faith journey, as you struggle with that, and just for a moment, give up the struggle. And honestly, prior to my one thought moment of Shinjin, that's what it came down to for me, speaking of my own experience. As a man pre-Shinjin at that time. In my mind, I couldn't truly know that Amida was real. I couldn't truly know that the Pure Land was real. And in the back of my mind, I saw it as nothing but mythology and fantasy. But I wanted to believe it to be real. I wanted to believe that Amida was a real Buddha. I wanted to believe that the Pure Land was real. But the fact is, my unenlightened mind, and that's the point. Understand that you are not enlightened. If you were enlightened, you would not need Amida's help. You would not need the primal vow. You would not need to ask Amida to bring you to his pure land, because you would be a Buddha. Know this. Entrust to Amida where you're at as yourself. Just be honest, Amida, as best you can. Amida can read your heart. Amida does read your heart. Amida does understand where you're at. That's why he made the 48 vows. That's why he created his pure land of ultimate bliss and peace. It's for people like us. Stupid, delusional bamboo. Spiritual idiots who, though well-meaning, we don't know what the hell we're doing. He knows what he's doing. Amitabha Buddha knows what he's doing. He knows where you're at in your walk of faith, in your struggle with doubt, in your struggle with fear, in your turmoil of life, in your hopes and aspirations, in your dreams, in your fears, in your exasperations. Amitabha knows you better than you know yourself. And so I sit in the presence of Amida. And in a way that becomes an offering, that I offer him this broken one. My thoughts, my emotions, my life, my good, my evil, karma, my loving, my twisted thoughts, my constantly tumultuous changing emotions. I offer this as an incense offering, as a flower offering, as a fruit offering, as any kind of offering you can imagine. I just offer myself as I am, where I am, to him. And in my own stupid, inept way, by doing so, I entrust that Amida knows what he's doing, even though I don't. And I entrust that if Amida is real, and if Amida is real, he does know what he's doing. And if Amida is real, he has created a pure land to save people like us, like me. And if that is the case, I'm just going to let go and entrust that Amida, in his time, in his way, is going to create in me that one thought moment of Shinjin, that realization that he is real and his pure land is real. That's what I did many years ago. And guess what? It happened. It happened because he is real. He does know where I'm at, did know where I was at. And even though I was mired in self-practices mixed with Chinese Nembutsu at that time, That's where I was at. It was self-practice Butsu, trying to bring myself forward. And that's not to say all Chinese Nembutsu is self-practice. I say Nembutsu in Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean, Sanskrit. It doesn't matter. As well as Japanese. It doesn't matter. But Amida knows where you're at. And because I did that and I finally gave up and just said, okay, I'm going to muddle through this as best I can. But in the back of my mind, I know that if he's real, he knows what he's doing. In the back of my mind, I know if he's real and he says he will bring us to enlightenment in our next life through the Pure Land, if he's real, he's going to do this. And then guess what happened? One day, I was cooking venison sausage I bought in the grocery store in the wok. I'm vegetarian now, but back then I wasn't. And dressed in my work clothes, getting ready to go to work in a couple of hours. And it just hit me. I am saved by Amida. Deep in my heart, I know Amida is real. And it was like, holy shit. I've received Shinjin. And I immediately contacted Paul Roberts via email, who was in the hospital from a kidney transplant, recovering. He's since passed and gone to the Pure Land. But I contacted him and everyone at the Pure Land Buddhist online group, Sangha, I was a member of, and said, I've received Shinjin. And 90% of the people there were very happy for me. Another guy really didn't give a damn, a guy who had claimed to be a person of Shinjin, which I can't imagine that. I mean, if somebody receives Shinjin and says, hey, I just received Shinjin, man, I'm going to break out the party balloons. I'm going to break out the flowers. Then again, there's a human resentment I've had for years. This guy's probably been long dead. It doesn't matter. It's not about him or me. It's about the fact that Amida is real. And Amida is the one that will bring about Shinjin in your doubting heart and mind if you just sit in his presence and say, look, I want to receive Shinjin, but I'm not there yet, man. And I don't know if you're real. I would like to believe you're real. I would like to believe your Pure Land is real. But man, I can't make myself believe in you. And everybody's saying you're a fake Buddha. And, this is just folk Buddhism, practiced by the ignorant tribes in the huts of Asia. And, if you're real, I'm just going to take it for granted that you know my heart, that I want to believe in you and I want to go to your Pure Land. That is the most honest, sincere prayer I ever prayed prior to receiving Shinjin. That is the prayer of the peasant of simple faith. It is, Lord Buddha, I don't have the ability to do the most basic skills of the sage, the practicer of Buddhism. My practice is crap. Lord. And so I just offer my brokenness to you because honestly, that's all I have to offer right now. The fact that I am a broken, imperfect being who really wants to believe in you and your pure land. That is the prayer of gold for Amida, because you've just dropped all the bullshit of your pretense of being a great, educated, theological master. And you've just said, look, man, I don't know what I'm doing. When I'm around my Buddhist friends online, I try to put on this big act that I know what I'm talking about because I want to be accepted, really. I want them to think that I know what I'm talking about, but I don't. You know that. If you're real, you know that, Amida. Well, I found out that because I said that, Amida, if you're real, you know that, Amida placed in my heart the realization that he's real. That knowing, that shinjin, that simple faith. Amida placed in my heart this knowing that because he's real, the pure land he created is real, and that he created this real pure land. So wherever you're at in your faith journey, Amida brought you here. Whether you think it was you or not, that's not important. I don't need to debate it because my catchy title or whatever didn't bring you here. Certainly wasn't my looks or my flashy, backdrop, the room of my apartment. It was Amida that brought you here. It was Amida that touched your heart. It was Amida who placed in your heart a desire to seek him through whatever medium could possibly draw you closer to him and him closer to you. But the fact is, you can't draw him closer to you because you are an unenlightened being living in the Saha realm. He has brought you here. He has placed in your heart a curiosity to know about him and his pure land. He has planted these seeds in your heart, which are starting to blossom, which will blossom, which will bloom as a lotus flower in his pure land in your next life. I love you. Namo, Amida, Butsu.